All right, welcome everybody to our late night Ag Committee meeting. We love getting up early and we love staying out late. So, first bill for our consideration tonight is House Bill 224. Before we do that, I suppose we better have a roll call.
Representative Banks,
Here.
Representative Davis,
Here.
Representative Eklund,
Here.
Representative Johnson,
Here.
Representative Ottman,
Here.
Representative Provenza,
Excused.
Representative Schmidt,
Here.
Representative Strock,
Here.
Chairman Winter.
He's excused. We're sending our good thoughts and prayers to the chairman. He is out not feeling good, so. All right, with that, we will jump right into House Bill 224. Since that's my bill, I'll just kind of go over the specifics and basics of that. So it's, again, the conversation that went through this committee earlier of prohibiting foreign adversaries' property ownership. And so what we did earlier in this committee, we passed a constitutional amendment, which will go to the voters, which will allow us the opportunity to put into place some of these rules. And so along with that, we needed a bill that would say, okay, when that passes, this is what we're going to do. And so the need for this comes, again, the same argument, national security being one of the biggest, having especially these countries. And this piece of legislation is very specific to foreign adversaries. And you'll find that definition on page 3, and it will be Romanet V there. Any country that has been designated as a foreign adversary under 15 CFR 791.4. And if you look that up, the foreign adversaries that fall into that determination are People's Republic of China, Republic of Cuba, Republic of Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. And so this piece of legislation was worked alongside many different stakeholders to come up with something that would be, we wouldn't cast a blanket that would be too big and would restrict the wrong kind of people. The good industry people in the mining and such worked this through their people to get a good definition that would be acceptable to them. Different landowner groups also work this to be able to be acceptable to them as well. And unless we want to go through this page by page, that's the basis of the bill. I would like, okay, we'll do questions first, then if not, I'll bring up some people. Okay, I would ask if Ms. Levin would be okay to come up at this point, or? Oh, sure. Yep, go. Come on up. We'll have you first, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lynn Budd, I'm the Director of the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security. Thank you for getting out earlier than midnight this time, so I appreciate it. I will let you know that I have had conversations with Ms. Levin and appreciate and support her amendments that she has suggested. I think narrowing that scope is a very good move. I do have one concern or a conflict to point out on page 6 at the top. and it's not a conflict yet, but, so if you, our current statute, as changed last year, directs our office to develop critical infrastructure zones. And for us to make a comparison of the, well, actually, it states that we develop the zones, and then we share those zones with the counties, and then they have to make a comparison of whether or not a sale has occurred or conveyance has occurred within those zones. That's 23 counties having to learn how to do that. In addition, we are not very excited about sharing critical infrastructure information with 23 counties just because of the danger of that information getting out and causing some problems. The county, the Clerks Association is very much in support, in fact, came to us soon after the legislation passed last year, having a conversation about reversing that data flow. So in other words, we would develop the tools, the software, which we will have to talk to you all about at some point in time for some funding for that, but we can't get the software until we know the direction of the data flow. So the idea would be that we would develop the zones, we would keep those in a secure location, and we would have the counties would just download all of their conveyances in a timely manner, or, depending on, there's over 1 million conveyances in the state every year. So they would just download the conveyances to us, and then we would have a software program that would do that kind of crosswalk and figure out if there's an overlap between a critical infrastructure zone and a conveyance. There is a bill, House Bill 97, that has passed the House and is up for introduction in the Senate with our fingers crossed. That bill actually does that and reverses the direction of that data flow. The paragraph E at the top of page 6 refers to the current status, if you will. And so I think however is appropriate to handle that. Again, we would really like for the data flow to change, and just, I guess, a note that this particular paragraph would need to change should that happen, if that makes sense. I also will just let you know that we have not been asked to do a fiscal note on this particular bill. However, I don't see, other than making sure that we have that software in the other bill, any concern for additional fiscal impact on our agency.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Budd? I just have a comment real quick. So I think what I'm going to do is this was a complete oversight, is the enactment date. I think I'm going to propose an amendment later that's going to make this a trigger bill based upon passage of the Constitution Amendment. So I think that will give us time to see where all of these line up.
Perfect.
And the fixes that we can make. And so I will definitely continue to be in contact with you so we can make sure to do it right. So,
Wonderful. Thank you,
yep,
Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Further public testimony? Ms. Levin, Mr. D-Tai?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Jody Levin here on behalf of the Trona industry. Just by way of some quick background for some of the new members and members who haven't been on the Ag Committee, the last couple of years, we've seen a number of foreign ownership bills. Those bills had very broad definitions that inadvertently would then capture some of your extractive industries who are foreign owned. So we requested that the committee pull those bills back. The committee was gracious in doing so, especially you, Mr. Vice Chairman, and we really appreciate that. We actually asked for this, Trona and the Mining Association, this to be an interim topic. So we worked this through the Appropriations Committee and their various bills, the Secretary of State, through the Corporations Committee, and then, of course, the issues before the Ag Committee. I have a number of amendments, but I promise you they're really streamlined. What we're trying to do now is align definitions. So we've got 5 bills on related to kind of foreign adversary issues this session, and it would be extremely helpful for everyone to know exactly what we're talking about. So no matter the context, we're targeting the right entities. So, Mr. Chairman, unless there's questions, I think I can walk through this quickly. I did pass out the amendments, or I gave it to committee staff on Tuesday, and they've also been filed electronically with LSO. So or Vice Chairman, that's always hard for me. So what we want to do, page 2, beginning line 15, and I should say, maybe if my colleagues want to say anything, or you just want me to get to it? We'll just get to it. All right, it's late, it's been a long day, right? Okay, page 2, line 15. We would say, by a foreign government, and then we would insert defined as, colon. Then you would strike lines 17, 19, and 21. The basis for striking Russia and China, they are actually defined in the foreign adversary definition that the Vice Chairman explained earlier. So it's essentially redundant language. Then on the top of page 3, we would strike Romanet 3 and insert Romanet 1. Page 3, line 3, after law, you would insert or. Then we would strike lines 5, 6, and 7. This is the language that is the international traffic in arms. That's new language that we don't see in any of the other bills. Page 3, line 9, we would strike Romanet 5 and insert Romanet 2. Director Budd just told me of a typo. On page 3, line 9, that should actually be country instead of county. So kudos to her with the fine pen. Then on line 15 and line 17, we would strike those again, same basis, Russia and China being defined as an adversary in 15 CFR 791.4. Page 3, line 21, after law, you would again insert or. Top of page 4, you would strike lines 1 through 3. Page 4, line 5, you would strike Romanet 5 and insert Romanet 2. So what all that language does is then say that the entities that are being defined as a foreign adversary that are prohibited from owning land would be those defined by the federal government as an adversary in 15 CFR 791.4, or entities that are state sponsors of terrorism. And that then aligns the definitions across all the bills that we've been working. We're very pleased to say that none of the people operating in the extractive industries are on those lists. So that keeps some of your major employers from being able to operate or continuing to operate, and it alleviates all of the concerns that we've had the last 2 years. And again, many thanks to this committee and to the Vice Chairman in particular for his willingness to really step back and work with us so that we could get to a position of being able to not oppose these bills.
Questions?
Mr. Vice Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question for you. There's actually several, or at least 2, I mean, maybe 3 places where it says where county is, where you have county as opposed to country. Do you mean for it to be country the whole way through?
Yeah. We'd probably need to fix that to country.
Okay.
Please, yes. I don't see it in any other place.
And I have a question.
Page 4, line 5.
Okay.
Chairman Banks, I have a question.
Okay.
Were you finished, Jody?
Mr. Vice Chairman, yes, I am.
Because we have another page here that I'm not sure where this goes.
Mr. Vice Chairman, and to the staff, because it looks like so many amendments, what I did was I did one that was just the page and line, and then the second one that looks like this, it's just streamlining it so you can see it in a very easy context of what we're doing. So these aren't additional amendments, it's just trying to explain.
This one. This one helps define this one.
Yes.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I meant it to help alleviate confusion, and I created more. So apologies, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Staff's good?
Mr. Chairman, one other thing that you could do also, in addition to the date, is you can ask LSO on page 6, lines 1 through 5, to amend the bill or to add an amendment that will provide for conforming this bill to House Bill 97 if it's enacted. Was it 97 that you said?
Okay.
They have language
Okay.
that they do that.
Great, thank you. Questions? Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Ms. Levin, this is wonderful. Just to have it all put together and all for everybody, it just streamlines it. It makes it so, because I wasn't here before. So this is all new. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And as always, you do excellent work, so.
With that, thank you. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate, I mean, this is what happens. I'll take a personal privilege here. This is what happens when you do legislation the right way, I think, when you get stakeholders together, address concerns, and I just think that I want to commend everybody who worked on this project, and you three especially, so thank you, appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Travis
Yes.
Detail with the Mining Association, and would echo of what everything that my colleague, Mrs. Levin, said. This really did give us a little bit of heartburn a couple of years ago, and your willingness to work with us and so many others, the committee, you know what I think you've got a good package of bills that I really think accomplishes what you want to accomplish and allows us to keep doing what we do for the state of Wyoming. And you're right, Mr. Vice Chairman, when people come together and get down to solve the problems, we can really do it in this body. So thank you for your work.
Mr. Vice Chairman, Ryan McConaughey with the Petroleum Association. I'll keep it quick and just say that, our members have had a lot of conversations on these bills over the last couple of years, and thanks to the hard work of Ms. Levin and Mr. Detai and others, we are in the same boat with them and appreciate all the hard work. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. Further public testimony.
Evening, Chairman. Todd Ernst, Laramie County Assessor. I'm actually here representing the Assessors Association tonight. Just going over the few bills. We just had some questions really about it, and it's talking about when we have to apply the adversaries on that notice of values. There's really no language in there for what you're wanting on that for the notice of values. And I just want you to kind of be aware all 23 counties, our notice of values are just a little bit different, but I did bring just one real quick to show Laramie counties. And I'm not sure where we're going to fit this on our notice of values. So some kind of guidance on language of what you're wanting on there and where you would like it placed on the notice of values. Obviously, us assessors, we can work and try to squeeze stuff in, but again, we've got a lot of good information on our notice of values. My particular is the veterans exemption on the back, and then it just talks language. So just some guidance and some language would be sure appreciative through the committee to help us figure out how to put it on the notice of values. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Ernst? Representative Eklund.
Mr. Chairman, so I guess a question I've got on this, can it be accomplished by each county in their rules or their regulations? Can we put something in here that allows you to do that? So that, because I don't think we want every county a notice of values in every county, but somehow, how would you suggest we might fit it into this bill so that so that that can be accomplished by the clerks when they start working with this?
Mr. Ernst?
So that's a very good question, Vice Chairman, Representative. Yeah, so I guess to start with is the language you guys want us to use on it. First of all, I guess that's the starting point, because there is really no language within this. It just says we got to have the information on the assessment that talks about this, but it doesn't say what kind of language you are wanting. So the language would be super important. And then I think as the assessors across the state, once we know what that language is, then we can try to format it into our notice. But if we'd have some guidance, if you'd want it on the front of the notice of values, or actually where you'd want that placed, so the property owners of our counties would see it and recognize it.
So on page 9, I'm seeing the notice shall contain information stating that foreign adversary ownership of land in Wyoming is prohibited, and it goes down through there. I guess, what more do you need?
So, Vice Chair, so you want that whole thing on our notice of values, and I guess that's where that's coming, is that's a lot of language to put on a notice of value that we don't have much room. This is a short legal. We talked earlier today with the assessors, and we can shorten that a little bit, but if we have agricultural land or something out there that has a big legal, then this gets squished even more. So we're just not sure where you would like, and if you want that whole language on there, then we're really going to have to struggle and work to figure out how and where we can place that on our notices.
Representative Davis.
Mr. Chairman, could you use like a color code or something like that? If you got a notice that had red on it, you need, and then a little disclaimer, you need to see the assessor's office and then blah, 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 and then that would flag that property and to the owner, and they would come in and do the research, or just a question.
Vice Chair, Representative. Absolutely, we could probably do something with that, is, you know, we could put a blurb on there in red or something somewhere saying, hey, with this, you need to contact the assessor's office for more information. It's kind of like what we'd have on our legal already, where it's, if the legal's too long, it just says, please contact the assessor's office for full legal. We could probably do something like that to fit it in.
Mr. Chair,
Representative
would I
Davis.
suggest a skull and crossbones?
That would be the committee's decision, I guess, Representative.
Further questions for the assessors? Mr. Ernst, thank you.
Thank you.
Further public testimony on House Bill 224? Mr. Moline.
Mr. Vice Chairman, Brett Moline, Wyoming Farm Bureau, supporting this legislation. And I think the amendment, well, I know the amendments that were brought forward before are excellent. And also appreciate that this would be a trigger bill. That would fit in with my policy that we have to follow the Wyoming Constitution. So sitting in firm support of this bill. Or I'm talking too much. No, sitting in firm support of this bill, and with that, I'd take any questions, and supporting the amendments as well.
Thank you, Mr. Moline. Any questions, Farm Bureau? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Further public testimony in the room? I think only a couple haven't been up here yet. Anybody in Zoom, Mark? Okay, seeing that, we will close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Davis, seconded by Ottman. Discussion on the bill.
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Eklund.
I would like to move the suggested amendment as it's done with the exception that we find every word that says county and switch it to country and kind of stick with this outline. I think they've worked on it hard. Anyway, that'd be my motion.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Discussion? I'll just have a discussion. There is some place in here that say county clerk and things that we don't want to switch, so, okay.
Hope they'll-
there are some foreign counties, not like in my county.
Further discussion on this amendment? Question being called on the amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Further amendments, and I guess I just would have one, I mean, I don't know exactly the language that we could use this on, but on page 10, the enactment, to enact it upon passage of the constitutional amendment that was passed earlier. If there's a way we can, because I know we've used that language before.
Yes, we can just add it, or have LSO
Okay.
find the language that it would be effective
Okay, yeah.
upon passage of the constitutional amendment.
Okay. And that would be my motion. Seconded by Representative Eklund. Discussion on that amendment? All those in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Amendment passes. Any further amendments, committee? Representative Eklund. I think. Representative Davis?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman. We did cover everything on the top of page 6 there with the conforming action.
I think we better do that. You want to make that motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on top of page 6, line 1 through 5, get some, from LSO, some conforming action, something that would address House Bill 97 or possibly these other ones that are still. So I don't know if we want to limit it to just that or just say something about the pending bills or something, however LSO wants to.
Do we have a second on that for discussion? Okay, seconded by Representative Eklund. Discussion on that? Lily, do you think that's clear what we,
Just give me 1 second.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, could it go along with the thought of conforming action?
Right.
So can you explain to me what, just explain to me a little bit of how House, first, just House Bill 97 would affect this?
I think that was when we were discussing it. House Bill 97 would change the, all of this language because it would be coming from the Office of Homeland Security.
Please.
I think it was House Bill 97. Yes. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, House Bill 97 is the one we're talking about. So the current statute reads that we create the critical infrastructure zones, and we give that information to each county. That's a security issue in our minds, that's sensitive information. It also requires all 23 counties to create a system to compare their conveyances with those legal descriptions that are identified in the zones. So House Bill 97 essentially reverses that order of how the data is shared, so that all the counties have to do is just download all of their data to us, and then we make the comparison. So that, again, we maintain the security of the data and take the burden off of 23 counties to have to do it as well.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Vice Chairman, what I would suggest is that you just include an amendment that for LSO to conform it to House Bill 97. LSO watches all the bills to determine if they'll need to conform or do any other, provide any other amendments. Say a second or third reading amendment to conform any other bill. So with that, I would just leave it with 97.
Okay,
And then we will, when we talk to LSO, we will make sure that they'll need to do a conflict check on any other bills.
great, thank you. Is that your amendment, Representative Davis?
Exactly, that's exactly what
I
Sure you
thought it
can
was.
understand.
Discussion on that amendment? All in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Amendment passes. Further discussion on the bill? Representative Eckes.
One more question, and I think I direct it to Lily. Do we have to do anything about the notice of value by the counties now in this bill? Or can it,
Mr. Chairman, I would, or Mr. Vice Chairman and Representative Eklund, I would just, I don't think you need to do it right now. The language is probably something you don't want to put together very quickly. And there will be plenty of time for the assessors to come up with language that, and hopefully that they would all use uniformly. But there's plenty of time to take care of that down the road.
Further discussion? Question being called. Mark, please take the roll.
Voting on House Bill 224 with amendments. Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
Aye.
Representative Eklund,
aye?
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza voted no. Representative Schmidt,
Aye.
Representative Strock.
Aye.
I don't have one for Chairman Winter.
Yeah, we'll excuse him.
Okay. The vote is 7 aye, 1 no, 1 excused. Do pass with amendments.
Thank you, committee. I'll handle this one on the floor, don't worry. Thank you. Thank you for braving the late night. Appreciate it, everybody. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 331. Representative Schmidt,
Where do you want me, Chairman?
wherever you want. If you want to be down there, you want to be up here?
I'll go down.
Okay. We can yell at you better down there.
Throw stuff at me, I'll throw it back.
Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Chairman, or Vice Chairman and committee. Yes, this bill, House Bill 331, titled Taking of Predators on Public Land. I want everybody to understand this bill follows game and fish statutes, Section 23, Chapter 23. It's not, there's no intent in this bill to make it illegal to accidentally strike an animal with a vehicle. We heard about that today. You know, if you hit a deer on the highway or a coyote on the highway, you could be, that could be an illegal act. That is not the intent of this bill. I did have a couple of, an amendment that I wanted to run by you. There's page 1, line 2, delete the word harassing and replace it with intentionally. And then on page 2, line 17, replace the word harass with intentionally. So again, this bill is very simple. All it basically does is make it illegal to use a vehicle, whether over the road, ATV, side-by-side, snow machine, as a weapon to kill any wildlife, including predators, on public land. This bill in no way affects a landowner, a rancher, to utilize these vehicles as a weapon to take a predator on his own private land. That does not change. He can do that today. He can do that if this bill is moved forward. It protects the landowner to manage his land and his livestock as he deems necessary on his private land. Now, what it does do is if he, for instance, is in pursuit of a predator and it moves off of his private land onto public land, he can still pursue that animal, but he can't use that machine as a weapon to maim it, injure it, or kill it. He has to pursue it and shoot it from the vehicle. That option is still there. So it doesn't take anything away from the landowner to manage his livelihood. All it does is stop the illegal, or it's not illegal now, but the senseless act of using a machine to repeatedly run over an animal in order to maim it or kill it, with the intent to kill it or maim it. That's what the intent of the bill is. And I think the bill closes the loop on a former bill we talked about, House Bill 275. That one doesn't quite close the door on this problem that was created in Sublette County. That issue, we all know about it. That issue has given my community a black eye, my county and this state a black eye from one person. And I can tell you, committee, this is not going to go away. House Bill 275 is not going to close the door on this. This, I am certain, will close the door. I had many, many meetings with landowners, average people, and people that support a lot of special interest groups. This is the one thing they've asked for. I really urge you guys to think about this, and let's try to close the door on this issue we have. Because we do have a black eye for it. Let's let that black eye start to heal, because I believe if we don't, this isn't going to go away. I really believe this bill protects the landowners, and it stops this senseless activity of just using a machine to whack an animal and torture it. So I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Davis.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, how does this affect what we use constantly over there is the government trapper. He uses all these multiple forms to do his job. And if I'm reading this right, you're preventing all that
No.
from him using them.
No, that's not right. It follows the game and fish statutes as it is for all of that activity to stay as is. For the government trappers to utilize aircraft, whatever they need, traps, whatever they need to control a predator problem.
Where, could you tell me, where's that spelled that out? I guess I want to know exactly how that's spelled out.
Representative Davis, I think that's on page 3, line 6 there, when it says by governmental agencies. Oh, but that's just aircraft.
Yeah.
Chairman,
Yes, Representative Eklund.
might that part of this, somebody found it? I'm just wondering if it's in another portion of the same statute.
Right.
right here. It's on page 3, line 6. Nothing in this subsection shall apply to the use of any aircraft by governmental agencies, their employees, contractors, or designees performing any lawful duties.
And then, Mr. Chairman,
Representative Davis?
I believe there, in our last session, there was night vision. We're allowed to use night vision and stuff like that to take predators in. I don't see any reference to that in this. If that's prohibited now that we've legalized it, or?
That is still a legal activity in the statutes, in game and fish statutes. That does not affect that. This bill does not affect that activity.
And that's at 23-306A?
Yes.
Further questions? Representative Ottman?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Representative, if we could go to page 1, and sometimes I have difficulty in making statutes smooth in my mind.
I
So if we
understand.
could just read, beginning with line 1 and read down through line 6, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. An act relating to game and fish prohibiting persons from intentionally injuring or killing predatory animals, and that's with the amendment, I might add. I'll start over. An act relating to game and fish prohibiting persons from intentionally injuring or killing predatory animals with vehicles on public lands. Authorizing persons to harass, pursue, hunt, shoot, or kill predatory animals with or by the use of vehicles on private lands as specified. Required rulemaking and providing for an effective date.
Good with that?
Do you want to keep harassing in there as well?
That's in the language now.
So we're changing, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
On line 2, we're changing harassing to intentionally, and then on line 3 at the very end, we're going to keep harass.
Oh, I'm sorry. That should be replaced as well. Sorry. Should be struck.
Strike it or change it? Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
yeah. Representative, strike it or
Strike it.
change it? Strike it? Thank you.
Further questions? Representative Eklund?
Mr. Chairman, so Representative Smith, it's late, and I'm trying to sort out what part of this bill is different. We killed one bill on the floor that sounded a lot like this, and there's some difference there. We also passed a bill that, according to your testimony, you believe doesn't close the whole thing up to where we fix this problem that has been created. Can you point that out for me so I don't have to try to figure it out?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Go ahead.
Representative Eklund. Yes, today we had a bill on the floor, House Bill 275. Basically, what that bill does is you can still use a over-the-ground or a machine on public land as a weapon to run over an animal, maim it, injure it, and then kill it. Still makes it legal to do that. The intent of the bill is if you do that, you have to kill the animal as quickly as possible. There's no torture involved. If you're caught torturing that animal, the first offense is I guess a misdemeanor. The second offense comes with fines and possible jail time and can be classified as a felony. That's Bill 275. I made an attempt this afternoon to take this bill and put it in that bill as an amendment, and that was struck down. That's what we struck down today.
Further questions?
Yeah.
Representative Davis?
I'm still not exactly clear here. All right, I'm following this bill where it's prohibiting persons from intentionally injuring or killing predatory animals with vehicles on public lands. That's pretty self-explanatory. Authorizing persons to intentionally pursue, hunt, kill predatory animals with or by use of vehicles on private land as specified, requiring rulemaking. Am I allowed to pursue animals on public land with the intent of?
Yes, yes.
Because I'm just still a little confused because we're telling them that we can't use the vehicles intentionally injuring or killing private, blah, 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 but it doesn't really allude to pursuit.
Well, if you go to line 10,
Line 10.
it says, when on page 2, when on public land, no person shall pursue, hunt, shoot, or kill any Wyoming wildlife, meaning like big game animals, except predatory animals. Which means you can. From or by the use of aircraft, automobile, trailer, motor-propelled wheeled vehicles, or vehicles designed for travel over the snow.
That cleared up?
Just like mud.
Further questions, Representative Schmid?
That's it.
Mr. Chairman, so the problem we're gonna have, Representative, is that it'll look like you're trying to do what you've already tried, and that thing didn't work out at all. And amending it into that other bill would have been the better way to go. Passing this as a standalone, I guess, doesn't quite make sense, and that's what I'm trying to sort out, but that's a problem we're gonna have. If we get it to the floor,
Right.
we're gonna have the same battle we did earlier today. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I think, I don't know, it's too late to figure that out.
Should we take some public comment on this? And do you have anything else, or?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. We will open it up to public testimony now. Anybody in the room like to testify on this one? Gentlemen?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Keith Kenny on behalf of the Wyoming Wool Growers. The suggested amendment that the sponsor had on this is something that was of particular interest to us. And part of the reason for that is that where we're on intermingled land, where we've got, whether we're talking checkerboard or where I've got a state section in with some of my private ground, it's pretty usual for us to try and haze predators away from our sheep. And sometimes there's enough of them that hazing is a better option than actually trying to kill an animal. So with that, I will turn it over to my counterpart here.
Mr. Moline?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Brett Moline, Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation, sitting in opposition to this bill. I truly think House Bill 275 covers this. Because I think before you kill it, if you're going to be chasing it with a vehicle, you will be in the harassing and, the intentional items that are in that bill. So I don't think this bill is needed as a suggestion that, as 275, House Bill 275 sits now, the way it was amended, my organization has no opposition to it. I'd like to see that bill work. I just don't think, I respectfully, sir, I don't think we need this bill. I think the actions that would lead up to something being killed is covered by the other bill. With that, Mr. Chairman, seeing in opposition to this bill because we're covered under 275, I would sit for any questions you or the committee may have for me.
Questions for Mr. Moline or Mr. Kennedy? Questions? All right, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
testimony. For like public testimony.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Richard Garrett. I'm here today representing the Greater Yellowstone Coalition. Our organization, its members are devoted to protecting and preserving the land, wildlife, water, and air of the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem for this and future generations. I only want to offer two comments. One is that I truly appreciate Representative Schmidt bringing this bill forward. He's exactly right. This is this incident, one that I know we all condemn, is a black eye for the state of Wyoming. And in the spirit of trying to heal that black eye, Representative Schmidt is trying very hard to do very good work. So we sincerely appreciate it. I guess I'll just confine my remarks to the challenge that we see within the bill, and that is it would still permit, in the way that I read it, Representative Schmidt, the pursuit of a predatory animal, and then the case of last year's incident, that being a wolf in the zone that is designated as a predator zone for the wolf. So I'm afraid we would still potentially have another eye to be blackened if this bill were to stand as it's drafted. But again, I want to thank the committee. It's a late hour. I want to sincerely thank Representative Schmidt. He's done a lot of great work on behalf of wildlife in our state. So with that, I'd answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee, any questions for Mr. Garrett? Representative Eklund.
Mr. Chairman, so this pertains to what we're trying to do, which is undo an awful mess. Because honestly, I have disliked predators. I've watched them kill my livestock, not wolves yet, but anyway, when I saw that picture, like everybody else, I just kind of sunk because I knew how much work had been done to try to fix the problem that our producers have with those animals up in the Northwest. So I need maybe some comments on 285 because it seems to be pretty similar. How did you view that bill?
275.
275, okay. Anyway, we passed that bill and there seemed to be a lot of support for it. Maybe it isn't perfect, I don't know, but what was your group's take on that one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, Representative Eklund, I appreciate that, the chance to speak to that bill. And yes, I think we'd agree with you. It's not quite perfect, but as we often hear in this body, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We're trying really hard in this state to do the right thing. And we have ag producers that are trying very hard to support our ag economy and using every tool that they possibly can to make their ranch operations, their farm operations viable. And, you know, those operations are critical to our state for a variety of reasons. We all love open spaces. And a lot of our open spaces are thanks to the ag community, and our support of the ag economy is truly critical. So, yeah, there are ways, and I'm not sure that we necessarily need to go into it, but there are ways perhaps that 275 could be improved. But on the other hand, maybe it is good as it is, and let's give it some time to see where we end up with it. You know, we can't take it's very difficult for us human beings to do everything everywhere all at once. And we learn from what we do, and I know I do. So I hope that answers your question, Representative Eklund.
Thank you. Further questions? Mr. Garrett, thanks for being here and sticking it out in the late hour with us.
It's a pleasure. You all are doing awesome work. If it was easy, anybody could do it.
That's right. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'll pass that along. All right, looks like we have Zoom testimony. Ms. King, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Sabrina King. I'm here representing the Wyoming chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. The chapter has voted to wholeheartedly support this bill. Our hunter and angler members also supported House Bill 275. And I would just say that from our standpoint, these bills do two different things. House Bill 275 deals with how an animal is treated once they are reduced to possession. This bill deals with, in some ways, how you get that possession in the first place, or just straight up killing an animal on public land with a vehicle. Our members, and I would venture that the sporting community in Wyoming, does not support running over animals with vehicles. We do not consider that fair chase. And we do think that this bill closes that final gap that House Bill 275 does not. So our members would love to see both move forward. We do think that there is a need to address, particularly on public land, the intentional killing of an animal with a vehicle. And certainly we will support House Bill 275 as it moves as well, but I would agree with the sponsor. It will not end the issue. And I think until we close that final gap, and until we say in Wyoming, running over an animal with a snow machine is not fair chase on public land, I think we are going to continue to grapple with this. So I know it is late. Appreciate the committee's time. Just wanted to let you know that we support the bill and we hope that it moves forward.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. King? Seeing none. Thank you for sticking it out with us through the late hour. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we had one more. Okay.
Kristen Combs.
Okay. Kristen?
Hi, committee. Sorry, I'm pulling double duty as a mom and and a worker this evening. So thanks again for taking my comment. We just would like to, I'm sorry, let me introduce myself. I'm Kristen Combs. I'm the executive director at Wyoming Wildlife Advocates. We represent all kinds of wildlife throughout the state and lots of supporters throughout the state. And I can say that definitively, I have heard from people all around the world and in the state of Wyoming that running over an animal with a snowmobile or any vehicle is not fair chase, and it's not something that is acceptable, and it is considered torture. And there were two different polls that were put out to Wyomingites to find out what our thoughts were on this. And turns out Wyomingites agree across the board that running over something and chasing it down with a vehicle is torture itself. And so we would stand in support of 275, which is a bill that does sort of handle some of the problem that was brought to light last year, but it also doesn't close this loop. It only, echoing what Ms. King said before me, it only deals with animals after they've come to possession. And so this bill really is necessary to fully close that loop and make sure that, because this is a big part of it too, that people were really outraged by. And we also agree with the amendment that the sponsor brought to put intent in there, which does handle the issue of, like, if you're just driving down the road and you happen to hit a deer, certainly that is not the intent of this bill, to hold people liable for that. So, yeah, I think we all just need to pull back here and remember that we are talking about torture of an animal, and this is something that people all across the state of Wyoming consider torture, is pursuing and running an animal down with a vehicle. Sportsmen agree, ranchers agree. I've talked to several ranchers that would never do that on their land. And the world is still watching and waiting for Wyoming to do the right thing. So I really encourage you all to think about not just we're not here to talk about predator control. We're here to talk about torture and making sure that that is not legal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony and for being with us. Questions committee? Representative Davis. Oh, okay. Thank you, Ms. Combs. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
And we've been through everybody in the room, no more on Zoom. All right, we'll close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Representative Johnson. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Representative Ottman. Discussion on the bill. Representative Davis?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, in here you mentioned on 23-306 penalties, but is that just covered in that statute? Because it doesn't spell anything out in the bill, so it just refers to the statute, okay?
To the statute, correct.
Further discussion? We can add your amendments at this time.
Okay.
You can just. That'll work.
Hey, I was going to get the book. You left the door open, let me hold the book.
Yep.
23-306.
Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I would like to move the amendments. Line 2, replace the word harassing with intentionally. Line 3, strike the word harass. And then on page 2, line 17, strike harass and replace with intentionally.
I have a question.
Mark?
Page 2, line 5. Shall harass, is that supposed to be changed or?
That's, no, that's the landowner's right. That's current language.
That's okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Is that?
That's it. Yep.
We have a second on that amendment? Second. Seconded by Representative Eklund. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Amendment passes. Further discussion on the bill. No discussion. Ready for the question? Question being called. Oh. Yeah, Representative Ottman.
Mr. Co-Chairman, to the bringer, are you satisfied in moving forward with this?
That's a good question. I mean, there's some things here that maybe with my my lack of understanding all the legalese, I might take a little time to work with LSO or somebody to clean it up a little bit and make sure it gets the intent that I want. I guess I believe myself that it'll do the job. That it meets what I think it needs to do in order to clean this thing up and close the loop. So I'm fine with it. It'll be fine.
Good committee. All right, ready for the vote, Mark?
Voting on House Bill 331 with the amendments. Representative Banks,
No.
Representative Davis,
No.
Representative Eklund,
No.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative
What are
Ottman,
we doing? Did I?
pardon?
Voting on the bill.
Say aye.
Oh, aye.
or no?
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza, she voted aye on this. Representative Schmid,
Aye.
Representative Strock,
No.
Chairman Winter, accused. The vote is 4 aye, 4 no, 1 excused. This would fail.
Hey, Mike.
Well, committee, good work for this late hour. It was important we have these discussions, and I think it was a good use of our time. So thank you for the good discussions, and if there's nothing else by the committee, we will adjourn.
That's all I'm trying to accomplish.
Thanks, Mark.
I in no way want to take anything away from the landowner. I got ranching families.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm reading here is what you're saying here. It's almost like it's a double of the bill, is what I'm saying.